I didn't feel scared when I boarded the bus. I felt watched. Not the nervous kind of watching that happens when a stranger walks into a quiet room. This was slower, deliberate, as if the bus itself had been waiting for me to notice it was alive. Every seat was taken, yet the silence felt rehearsed, like the pause before a performance begins. No phones glowing, no coughing, no shifting weight. Faces lifted as I stepped inside, one by one, calm and synchronized, their eyes settling on me as if I were the last piece of something unfinished. The doors closed behind me with a soft, final sound. Before I could turn back, the bus was already moving. Outside the windows, there was no road, no streetlights, no horizon, just black pressed flat against the glass, thick and depthless, like night had decided to ride with us. The engine hummed beneath my feet, steady and low, vibrating through the floor and into my chest. I walked down the aisle, my footsteps too loud, my breathing suddenly something I could hear. Their eyes followed me, slowly, patiently. I dropped into a seat near the middle. The fabric was cold, colder than it should have been, and when I shifted my weight, the cushion resisted, just a little, like a hand resting on my thigh and telling me to stay. I told myself it was exhaustion, that late nights do strange things to the mind, that I'd ridden worse buses at worse hours. I stared straight ahead and tried not to count the faces reflected faintly in the dark window. A mile marker flashed past. White numbers glowed for a heartbeat. I barely noticed until the same marker appeared again, identical down to the crack in the post and the smear of dirt near the base. My stomach tightened. When it passed a third time, I pressed my palm to the glass, feeling cold where warmth should have been. "Are you lost?" The voice came from ahead of me. A boy stood on his seat to look back, maybe 6 or 7, clutching a stuffed bear with most of its fur worn away. One button eye was missing, leaving a dark hollow that seemed deeper than it should have been. His face looked clean, normal. His smile didn't. "No," I said. "Sit down." He tilted his head, studying me. "That's what the last man said." The woman beside him laughed softly, not amused, satisfied. She leaned toward me, her hair falling forward like a curtain. "You'll stop saying that soon," she said. "Stop saying what?" I asked. She blinked slowly, bored, then turned away. Across the aisle, an old man cleared his throat. The sound was wet, wrong, like something shifting where it shouldn't. He leaned closer, his breath cold and metallic against my arm. "Wrong seat," he whispered. "Then move," I said, my voice thin. "I'll take another." He shook his head. "They all become wrong eventually." The bus seemed to pick up speed. The engine's hum deepened, a low growl that made the floor vibrate harder. The darkness outside didn't blur the way it should have. It stayed perfectly flat, like a wall. The bell chimed. A man stood near the front. His uniform was neatly pressed, old-fashioned in a way that didn't match the bus or the hour. Polished shoes, straight posture. When he smiled, it felt intentional, like he had chosen to do it. "Tickets, please," he said, voice light, almost friendly. Hands lifted together. The movement was perfect, too perfect. Pale fingers extended, tickets offered, torn, returned. He moved down the aisle with unhurried steps, eyes flicking over faces with quiet amusement, as if enjoying a private joke. When he reached me, the space around my seat felt smaller. He took my ticket and studied it longer than necessary. His smile thinned. "You missed your stop." "That's not possible. I just got on." He leaned closer. I smelled something dry and old on his clothes, like paper stored too long. "A long time ago," he added, almost kindly. The lights flickered. The bus jolted. Somewhere behind me, a child screamed, sharp and desperate, and then the sound cut off mid-breath, like it had been sliced away. I turned. The boy's mother had lifted a bottle from her bag. The liquid inside was dark, thick, unmistakably red, fresh. She pressed it to the boy's mouth. He drank eagerly, smiling, his lips staining, laughter bubbling between gulps as if this were the happiest thing he'd tasted. She stroked his hair, humming, like this was the most ordinary act in the world. My vision tunneled. I tried to stand.
I couldn't. My thighs felt fused to the seat, skin to fabric, as if the bus itself had decided I belonged there. Panic surged. I shoved down with my arms. Nothing. The cushion held me. The woman smiled at me, gentle and reassuring. "You can't get up," she said. "Not unless he wants you to." I followed her gaze. The ticket checker stood a few steps away, watching. His eyes were bright, enjoying this. A young girl stepped into the aisle, blocking my view of the door. "You can have my seat," she said sweetly. "I don't need it anymore." "What do you mean?" I asked. She pointed toward the back. I looked and felt my chest tighten. The old man was standing now, his back bent at an angle that made my stomach lurch, his shadow stretching along the floor like it didn't belong to him. His mouth opened, and when he spoke, his voice came out layered, as if someone else were speaking through him. "It's starting," he said. Hands brushed my arms, cold, curious, testing. Laughter rippled through the bus, not loud, not wild, just pleased, like a shared breath. "Run if you want," the ticket checker said lightly. "I like seeing how far you think you can go." The seat released me without warning, throwing me into the aisle. I stumbled forward, heart hammering, slamming into seatbacks as hands grabbed at my clothes and skin. The bus didn't slow. The door loomed ahead. A woman stepped into my path, her eyes suddenly milky and unfocused. "You're shaking," she observed. "That means you're still warm." I shoved past her and yanked at the door. It didn't open. The boy laughed behind me. "He doesn't like it when you rush." I turned. The ticket checker had moved closer. His smile widened, and for a moment his eyes seemed too deep, like pits you could fall into. "Rules," he said. "Everyone forgets them at first." "What rules?" I demanded. He tilted his head. "Stay seated. Don't ask where you're going. Don't look outside for too long. And when it's time," he let the sentence hang, savoring it, "you'll know." The bus lurched again. The lights dimmed, then brightened, then dimmed again, as if breathing. A woman near the front stood and began counting aloud, numbers tumbling out of order. The young girl giggled and clapped. The old man's shadow crawled farther along the floor, moving before he did. I backed into a seat, hands shaking. "This isn't real," I said to no one. "This isn't real." The woman with the bottle met my eyes. "That's what the last man said," she echoed, smiling. The darkness outside the windows shifted. For the first time, something moved within it, pressing close, then closer, like a face testing the glass from the other side. The bus shuddered. The engine's hum dropped an octave. The ticket checker leaned in, close enough that I felt his breath, cold and dry. "You're doing very well," he said softly. "Most of them break sooner." "Let me off," I whispered. He chuckled, a quiet, pleased sound. "Not yet." The bell chimed again. Every head turned toward me. The bus surged forward, and the lights went out. The darkness didn't erase the bus. It taught me how to feel it. When the lights went out, the engine didn't stop. Its hum thickened, slow and heavy, like a pulse I couldn't escape. The air pressed against my face, crawled into my mouth when I tried to breathe too deeply. I could hear someone close to me exhale, long, satisfied, deliberate, and I knew it wasn't mine. Then the lights returned. Not bright, not kind, just enough. Every passenger was standing. They filled the aisle, the gaps between seats, the places that hadn't existed before. No one rushed me. No one touched me. They simply stood there, angled toward me, bodies tilted as if gravity itself leaned in my direction. My heart hammered so hard it hurt, and the sound of it felt loud enough to give me away. The ticket checker remained near the front, hands folded behind his back, relaxed, watching me like a man observing an experiment he already understood. "Good," he said. "You're still with us." I swallowed. My throat burned. "I want off." A ripple moved through the bus. Not laughter, not speech, something between the two, like a shared breath released all at once. "You don't want that yet," he replied. "You'd miss everything." The boy laughed once. "He's sweating," he announced, delighted. "That means he's trying." His mother stepped forward and turned the empty bottle upside down. Nothing came out, but the glass was still stained dark. "You don't have to want anything," she said. "That's not how it works." The old man's shadow slid along the floor and wrapped around my shoes. I felt pressure, like fingers tightening, pinning me in place. I forced my legs to move. The shadow resisted, then slipped away, annoyed but not gone. The bus lurched, not forward, sideways. The windows warped. The black outside rippled as if something enormous brushed past us. The young girl clapped, delighted. "We're turning," she said. "There's no road," I shouted. The ticket checker smiled. There never was. A hand brushed my shoulder. I spun, heart hammering, but it was the boy, inches from my face, looking up at me with open curiosity. "Does it hurt yet?" "Get away from me." He frowned, genuinely disappointed. "You're not there yet." The lights dimmed again and stayed dim. Faces blurred at the edges, features softened, then rearranged themselves subtly every time I blinked. I squeezed my eyes shut, then opened them. The woman now had too many teeth. The old man's eyes had sunk deeper into his skull. The girl's shadow lagged behind her movements, catching up a second late. I backed toward the rear of the bus. "You said there were rules," I said, forcing the words out. "Tell me how to survive this." The ticket checker tilted his head, amused. "Survive?" he asked. "Yes," I snapped. "You said people break. That means some don't." He considered this. "Some last longer," he said. "That's different." The bus slowed. I felt it immediately, the change in pitch, the easing pressure in my chest. Hope flared, sharp and reckless. The rear door lights flickered on. The passengers reacted at once. Some hissed, some laughed. The woman stepped back, annoyed. The old man's shadow recoiled. The ticket checker raised a hand and they stilled. "You've earned another attempt, but this one comes with conditions." I nodded too fast. "Anything?" "Of course," he replied. "That's what everyone says." The aisle cleared, not by movement but by distortion. Seats slid apart. The floor stretched, forming a narrow path toward the rear door. The darkness outside the windows pulled back slightly, enough to suggest depth. I ran. The bus fought me this time. The floor dipped under my feet. The air thickened, dragging at my limbs. Fingers brushed me, testing, curious, but didn't grab. The boy ran alongside me, laughing, matching my pace without effort. "You're almost convincing yourself," he said. "That's my favorite part." I slammed into the rear door and shoved. It opened. Cold air tore into my lungs, real and sharp. I fell forward and hit pavement hard, pain exploding through my knees and palms. The impact knocked the breath from me, but I didn't care. I rolled onto my side, gasping, laughing, crying all at once. Behind me, the bus thundered past and vanished into the dark. Silence followed. Real silence. I lay there shaking, staring up at the night sky. Stars blinked back at me, indifferent and steady. I pressed my face to the ground, grounding myself in the cold, solid feel of asphalt. "I made it," I whispered. I pushed myself up and looked around. The road was empty, stretching in both directions. In the distance, a cluster of lights glowed, warm, steady, human. A diner. I staggered toward it. With every step, the pressure in my chest eased. The air felt lighter.
My thoughts slowed, lined themselves up. By the time I reached the door, my hands had stopped shaking. The bell chimed. Warmth washed over me. The smell of coffee and oil and something fried. Bright lights. A woman behind the counter looked up, startled. "Jesus," she said. "You okay?" I nodded too quickly. "Phone," I said, "please." She slid one toward me without question. The dial tone was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. I punched in a number with clumsy fingers. It rang. Someone answered. A real voice. I leaned against the counter, listening, barely responding, letting the sound prove the world still existed. I hung up and laughed, weak and breathless. The woman poured me coffee. Steam rose in a lazy spiral. "You look like you saw a ghost," she said gently. I stared at the steam. It drifted sideways. Not up, just slightly, against no current, against no logic. My stomach tightened. "You're safe here," she said, turning away. The bell chimed again. I didn't turn right away. I already knew. When I did, my heart dropped. The ticket checker stood in the doorway. No uniform now, just a simple jacket. Same posture, same eyes, same smile. The woman didn't react. "You did great," he said, stepping inside. "Really, one of the better ones." "This is real," I said hoarsely. "This is outside." He nodded. "Outside something, yes." The lights flickered. The woman froze mid-motion. Her smile slackened, her eyes darkened, sinking inward until they reflected nothing at all. The walls stretched, the windows filled with black. The sound of the engine returned, low, familiar. I backed into the wall, breath coming in short, panicked bursts. "I said rules," I said. "You said there were rules."
"There are," he replied, stepping closer. "You're just very bad at spotting them." "What's the rule now?" He leaned in, voice dropping. "Hope is allowed," he said. "Escape is not." The floor vibrated. The diner peeled away layer by layer until the counter was a seat, the walls were windows, and I was standing in the aisle of the bus again. The passengers watched. The boy waved. "You made it further," the old man said approvingly. The ticket checker stepped back to his place near the front. "Round 2, he said softly. The lights went out, and the engine surged forward. The engine was already running when I realized I was still alive. Not starting, not roaring to life. Already there, low, steady, patient. The vibration traveled up through the floor and into my bones, settling in my chest like something that had always belonged there. For a few seconds, I didn't move. I didn't even breathe properly. My lungs worked in short, shallow pulls, as if they were afraid of taking in too much of whatever air existed in this place. The bus. I was back on the bus. The lights were dimmer now, not flickering, not threatening to go out, just low enough to keep everything half hidden. Shadows stretched along the floor in directions that didn't match the seats casting them. The air smelled heavier than before, thick with metal and something old, like rain soaked into rust and never allowed to dry. I stood slowly, legs trembling, and looked around. Everyone was here. Not frozen, not pretending anymore. The woman sat with her hands folded neatly in her lap, watching me with open curiosity. The boy swung his legs, heels tapping the seat in front of him in a steady rhythm. The young girl leaned against a pole that bent slightly under her weight, smiling like she was waiting for her favorite part. The old man's head twitched, small jerky movements, as if his neck no longer remembered the correct angle to hold itself. They were all watching me. "You came back," the girl said brightly. "I didn't," I replied. My voice sounded far away, like it was being spoken through water. "I woke up." The ticket checker stepped forward from the front of the bus. No hurry, no tension. Just calm steps measured to land exactly where he wanted them.
He looked pleased in a quiet way, like someone watching a long plan finally reach its last stage. "You did wake up," he said. "That part was real." My heart began to race. "Then why am I here?" He stopped a few feet away, hands folding behind his back. "Because waking up doesn't always mean leaving." The bus shifted under my feet, a gentle sway that reminded me we were still moving. Outside the windows, the darkness wasn't flat anymore. It rolled, layered and deep, like water without a surface, pressing close and pulling away in slow waves. The old man stood. His spine cracked as he straightened, bones sliding into positions they shouldn't have fit. His shadow peeled away from his feet and crept along the aisle toward me, thin and stretched, moving with intent. "You remember now," he said, his voice overlapping itself. Images flashed behind my eyes, headlights exploding out of nowhere, rain hammering the windshield, the sound of metal screaming as the world tore itself apart, the moment of weightlessness, the dark that followed. "I didn't mean to," I whispered. "No one ever does," the woman said gently. "That's why the ride exists."
The ticket checker nodded. "You weren't chosen. You arrived." The boy hopped down from his seat and walked closer, eyes bright. "He still thinks this is the scary part," he said, grinning. I backed away until my shoulders hit a seat. "If I'm dead," I said, forcing the words out, "then end it." The ticket checker's smile softened. "This isn't punishment," he replied. "If it were, it would already be over." "Then what is it?" "It's transition," he said, "and you're almost done." The bus slowed. Not stopping, never stopping, just slowing enough that the engine's hum dropped into a deep resonant thrum that made my teeth ache. "You're lying," I said. He nodded. "I lie all the time. That doesn't make me wrong." The woman stood and stepped toward me. She placed her hand against my chest. Her palm was colder than anything I'd felt before, colder than the seat, colder than the air. When she pushed, my heart stuttered painfully, like it had forgotten its rhythm. "That's the part that surprises them," she said softly. "How quiet it gets at the end." I shoved her away and stumbled back, gasping. "Let me wake up," I begged. "Please, I'll do anything." The ticket checker's eyes brightened. "Anything?" "Yes," I said. "Anything." He studied me for a long moment. The bus seemed to hold its breath. "All right," he said at last. "One more stop." The rear door lights flickered on. Hope flared inside me, sharp and reckless, cutting through everything else. The passengers reacted immediately. Some laughed, some hissed, some leaned back in clear annoyance. The ticket checker raised a hand, and they froze. "This time," he said calmly, "don't look back." I ran. Every step felt heavier than the last, like the floor was testing whether I really meant it. Hands reached for me, but didn't grab. Faces leaned in close, studying me with open interest. I slammed into the rear door and shoved. It opened. There was no impact, no ground. Just a long, endless fall through darkness filled with sound, sirens, voices shouting my name, the steady beep of a machine measuring something that no longer mattered. Wind tore at me, ripping the bus away piece by piece until there was nothing left but me and the falling. Then I was awake. My alarm screamed beside me, sharp and unbearable. I slapped the alarm off and pressed my palms together, shaking. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you." My room was normal. Too normal. I laughed weakly, running my face over me, grounding myself in the familiar. It was just a dream. Time moved forward again. I showered, dressed, checked my phone, missed calls, messages from work. Everything fit neatly back into place. By the time I stepped outside, the memory of the bus felt distant, like something that had happened to someone else. The bus stop was a few blocks away. The night was cold. The street was quiet. The bus arrived right on time.
I didn't think. I didn't hesitate.
I stepped inside quickly and let out a long breath, relieved like I'd been holding it for hours. I dropped into a seat, leaning forward, trying to calm the shaking in my hands. For a moment, there was only the hum of the engine. Then a voice came from behind me. "I'm hungry." My body locked. I turned slowly. The bus was full, every seat occupied, the same faces, the same people, all of them smiling at me. A hand settled on my shoulder, heavy, certain. I spun around. The ticket checker stood behind me, smiling down with quiet satisfaction. "Welcome back, sir." My eyes widened. The engine grew louder, and darkness rushed in to claim everything.